I learned from my mother, a master quilter, and not because it was my mother, she was a master quilter. Her works resembled paintings. I had never seen quilts, and she had passed the stories down from her grandmother, from her mother, and her mother's mother to our family. And having a historical background within the quilting aspect, I learned. And so in my mother's room, there's a day bed, and this is where she had a great many pieces of quilts, and there was a poster of the Underground Railroad, and the man in the poster was turning this way, looking back over across the river, and he was signaling people to come along, and it had the excerpts of what the patterns meant, and I knew some of the patterns. And I used to read them, and it was painful for me to read them and really comprehend what was going on, because a lot of times in history you don't want to look at what was painful, but if you want to know where you're going forward, you have to know your past. So over a two or 3 year period, I looked at the patterns and I read the captions, and I said to myself, I said, I can paint these. I said, I can paint these. So my sister said to me one day, she said, why paint them when you can quilt these? You know how to quilt. And I said, yeah, I guess I do. You know, it's like I helped so much in the house with my mother's quilting, and she used to talk to me. And I'm the baby of the family, so the relationship with your mother and son was a lot closer, because, you know, she was still, in her own inherent way, she was passing on information to me, an oral interpretation. And my sister said to me, she came to me one day and said to me, when are you going to start quilting? I said, what do you think I'm doing now? She said, no, you're piecing, son, you're piecing. And I was really discouraged, you know, because I thought I was quilting, but I was piecing. And she said, you have two other methods that you have to, two other appliques that you have to put on this piece that you're doing, a centerpiece and a backing. And I remember the last stages of my mother's quilts on the quilting frame. She'd take it off, and she'd pin all around the quilt. She'd pin all around the quilt with safety pins, all over, or hat pins. And she'd turn the cloth over like this, and she stitched. I'm over-exaggerating, but she stitched. Created a beautiful hem. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Created a beautiful, beautiful hem. And she said to me, the hem is the most important piece of the work, and what it represents is that it's like a frame on a painting. You can do the most beautiful piece of work that you've ever done. If you don't present it with a frame and enclose it, or if you don't have a frame and the piece is non-frameable, it's very important to have a nice line. And the thing about the Underground Railroad you have to understand is that you have probably 20,000 different cultures from Africa. So you have East meets West. I'm not a historian, I don't profess to be a historian, I'm an artist. You have East meets West. So your center, our Western center, may be here. Eastern center may be over here. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. What's straight to people in the West isn't straight to people in the East. Everybody follow me? Quilts are not totally straight. People did not, during that time, have rulers, scissors, so everything was basically done by eye. So this is the reason why I have the lopsided quilts. If you see an older quilt, some of them will even go like this, because they weren't so concerned about precision. They weren't counting stitches. You understand what I'm saying? They weren't counting stitches. They were producing something that was very functional, very, very functional, to stay warm. So in a lot of my work, I'm not concerned with precision. I'm concerned with image.